All right, friends. Thanks, Debbie. Welcome, everybody. Today, we are joined by our special guest, Al Philip Neri. Al, welcome to the show with us today, man. Thanks for having us. All right, guys. So let's heat up the chat a little bit. Who here owns one investment property? Let me know in the chat, right? One or yes? Yes, yes, yes. Awesome. Okay. Who here wants to grow their investment portfolio over time? Right? Time. T-I-M-E in the chat, if that's what you want to do. Awesome. All right, guys, this is awesome. We got some doers today. That's how we want to start. First thing we want to do is we want to set your mind. Okay. We want to set your mind to approach this as a real estate investor. Just like you're going to look at a property and you're going to take the emotion out of it and you're going to run the numbers and say, does this make sense? Yes or no? We're going to do the same thing today with everything that Al's going to teach us. So in efforts of giving everybody their time and day back at some point, I'm going to pass the mic to Al, and Al's going to kick us off to get started. Al, let's do this, man.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for taking the time on a Monday afternoon. My name is Al Philip Neri. I'm out of Denver, Colorado. I am the creator founder of Flip2CashFlow. So, Ray, can I share? Do I have that capability?
You should. Absolutely.
We will get started right away.
And guys, as we're going through this together, drop all of your questions in the chat. I promise we will get to them. And we're going to go through some slides. Al's going to share with us, and then we're going to do open Q&A. And then at the end of this, we'll drop a link where the recording will be available for you to access tomorrow.
Cool.
All right, Al.
All right. Everyone can see the presentation? Yep. Okay, great. So welcome, Flip2CashFlow. Let's talk a little bit about who is this for. So when I designed this program, I actually designed it for realtors because I am a realtor. However, I know there's some people on here that aren't agents, that are just investors. When I get into my background, I started as an investor and then I got a real estate license. So understand, just because you don't have the license doesn't mean that the same principles don't apply. But for those of you that are agents, I specifically designed Flip2CashFlow for you, for us, because when I used to speak on an international level, there was a very antagonistic relationship between investors and agents. The way investors were taught to deal with agents, it was like they were talking down to us. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, this is absolutely crazy. It doesn't need to be like this. So what are the benefits of staying all the way to the end of the presentation? Number one, it's going to get you off the transactional treadmill. So those of you that are agents, you guys know how that goes. We run, run, run. Sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold. We're on this transactional treadmill. For those of you that are just flippers, or you want to get into flipping, it's kind of the same mentality. Is all of a sudden you'll have a momentum of deals, and then all of a sudden you just dry up for a while, and then you have a momentum of deals and you dry up for a while. So the whole goal is to create a system and have a system that's playing for you. Number two is to leverage your skills, your network, and your expertise. So obviously, if you're an agent, you should have some level of real estate IQ. You have access to the MLS. You go to meetup groups. You have a network that's big enough. You have clients that might be contractors, et cetera, et cetera. If you're not an agent, you have everything at your disposal other than access to the MLS. Now, I will say it right here. That is not the reason you should get a real estate license, is so you have access to the MLS. Then you have to know how to communicate with agents intelligently to get the data that you need. If you stay to the end, I'm going to give you a blueprint to achieve consistent success, which is what I talked about briefly. If you are an agent, you will see how I built in an opportunity for you to make 3 additional commissions every 90 days if you follow the blueprint to the T. End of the day, if you get cash flow on property, you create cash flow, which ultimately leads to developing a generational wealth plan. So I want to start with this: top producers. And I will, obviously, when an agent hears top producer, something comes to mind, right? As an investor, if you think guru, something comes to mind, right? So for 2 seconds, put it in the chat real quick, Ray, you can read them. What are some of the traits of top producers and gurus? Put them in the chat. What are some of the traits of top producers and gurus, depending on what your vertical is here today? What are they saying, Ray?
Systems, persistence, hardworking, consistency, discipline, grit, communication. Guys, this is awesome. Keep it coming. Network, social media leaders, communication, connections, experience, expertise, working smarter, not harder, stay current.
Cool.
Strategy, reputation. I love it, guys. This is awesome. Thanks
Okay.
for engaging with us.
Yep. All true, right? So my flip to cash flow is not a get rich, get quick scheme. That's not what this is. Everything that was just said in that chat is exactly what you've got to do. So this is not, oh, I'm going to just kind of hang out. No, 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 no. You got to pound the pavement. You got to work. You got to pick up phones. You got to work to make this successful. What I'm giving you is a blueprint so that you can really just have a cycle where things are continuing for you. But I want to make it clear that you still got to do the work. So just like the gurus, who we'll talk about in a second, and top producers, how they did everything that you guys just put in the chat, it's the same thing. You got to put in the work. So a little bit about me. This is me. I've been licensed since 2007. I think I hold the award for the most brokerages in the number of years. KW times 4, Cobo Banker times 2, EXP times 1, Real times 1, Call It Closed times 1, and I'm now with Epic. So I have bounced around and 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 bounced around. So I am very broker agnostic, just so you all know. So I have bounced around. So if you've bounced around, yeah, we should talk. I've invested in 21 US markets. Now, that's not 21 states, that's 21 US markets. What I've done through my experience is come up with a system that you fix and flip in your local market, take a percentage of those profits, and buy a turnkey, keyword is turnkey, cash flowing asset in potentially another market. And I'll get into details. But my biggest claim to fame with the gurus is I spoke for all of them for 6 years straight. I did about 40 events a year, all through the US, all through Canada, speaking for all the big boy TV real estate shows. And I learned a lot about that industry. I learned a lot about delivery and learned a lot about whether they really cared about people's success. So I'll bring that to you. So that is how I created all this. So here's a map of everywhere I've invested. So you'll see kind of a broad range. I will say the majority of my deals have been in Denver, Kansas City, St. Louis, and Detroit, Michigan, and Birmingham, Alabama. That's where the bulk of my deals have been. But here and there, I might have done a one-off, a two-off, and I am pretty involved in St. Paul, Minneapolis right now, which I'll talk about as we go through. But some of you may be from some of these areas. There was somebody from Kansas City, I believe. But not a lot on the West Coast, as you can see, other than did a couple in Phoenix and then Seattle RV park on the coast of Oregon. But everything else you see where I'm kind of localized to. All right. So when I first became an agent, I was working 7 days a week. And I was working hard 7 days a week. I had very, very quick success as an agent. Very, very quick. First month, I had 4 closings. And then I realized that some months I would make a ton of money. And in some months, I would make no money or little money. And some of that was shift in the market, which I think we've all experienced since Q3 2023, right? There has been a shift. So the last, let's say, 18 months has been very weird in the world of being a retail realtor. And then I also ran into something called personal burnout. I would hit it so hard 7 days a week, just showing houses, doing whatever we had to do. We were a 2-man team that I would just all of a sudden hit personal burnout. And then when I hit burnout, I would go to the office and I wouldn't want to do anything. I would just look for everything not to do that was real estate. Well, I realized, well, that's not very productive. But really, what came about it was I started realizing that even though I was making really good money as an agent, I was sacrificing family time. Like we would be together, I would get a call, someone wanted to go see a house, and I'd be like, hold on, we're going to go to XYZ, but I got to go show this house on the way. And that's what I would do, is go show the house. And so then I was like, there has to be a better way. There just has to be a better way to do this. So Flip to cash flow. Again, quick repeat. Fix and flip in your local market, and then how to take a percentage of those profits and put it into a cash flowing asset. So let's get into the nitty gritty on real estate. So there's 5 steps in regards to fix and flipping. The first one is identifying. Now, the reason I think if you've never flipped, the reason I think you should start with a fix and flip in your local market is because you're there. You're there, you can go by, you can check on things. If something goes wrong, you can problem solve, you can pick up the phone, you can get more people involved. You've got this reach. You've got this reach. And that's the reason why I feel like you should start in your own backyard. Fix and flipping in a market where you're not at is very, very tough. It's very, very tough. I've done it a lot. Sometimes I've done it successfully, sometimes I've done it unsuccessfully, to be honest, because you're not there, and people do lie, believe it or not. So they'll tell you they're there and they're not there. But the identify, you got to understand how to find the right areas. Where are the hot areas? What are the hot price points? And sometimes on a hot area, it's a hot subdivision, right? What are the hot styles of houses that are moving? Everything is hot, 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 hot. One of the things I learned from coaching so many people is people sometimes try to take a square peg and put it in a round hole. They will try to make a deal out of something where it's not a deal. Like they're like, well, I really want to get this done. Well, you really might never sell it, like ever, right? So identifying the right asset is critical. It's absolutely critical. Next is running your numbers. Now, the old school, for those of you that are been doing this for a while, yeah, we used to do ARV times 70% minus rehab, and bam. That was when there was a slew of foreclosures. There was a ton of inventory. We were making 30, 50, 100 offers a day. It didn't matter. Yeah, so it was just a blind formula, right? We weren't even looking at properties. We were just sending stuff out, sending stuff up, sending stuff out. Well, guess what? 08, 09 is gone. It's gone. Now, please don't ask me if it's coming back because I don't have a crystal ball. But today's market, you got to be much tighter on running your numbers. You have to be much tighter on running your numbers. And that starts with what you know you can sell it for, what it can appraise for, running the numbers, running the rehab numbers, factoring and seller concessions. What's the cost of money going to be? And I'll just tell you, just recently, like for the cost of money, I brought a asset-based private money lender to another group mentorship that I facilitate. And he said, and I'm going to give you a tip right now. He said that if somebody is not estimating to hold that fix and flip for 8 months, 8 months, start to finish, he doesn't even look at the deal. 8 months. My friends, I flip in 30 days. We buy, we get it back on the market in 30 days. That's our time frame. Maybe we've gone 32, 35, 36, something like that. But our goal is to get back on in 30 days. Well, he said, well, yeah, that's because you've done it so much. Most people, it's going to take them 60, 90 days, maybe even 120 days to flip. Then time on market, because the market is soft right now, he was like, I make them show me that they've got 8 months of reserves to be able to pay me. So where I'm going with this is your formula has changed. Your formula has changed. And if you're not up to par, being taught by people who are in the business, talking to a lot of people who are in the business, you'll run your numbers incorrectly. You'll run your numbers incorrectly. And I will say, for those of you that are active and you deal with wholesalers and things of that nature, I'm going to say it right now. Their ARV is never right. Their rehab number is never right. Their cost to sell is never right. I haven't found one to actually put a deal on the table where everything was spot on. But your job as the flipper is to run your own numbers and verify. So this formula, depending on whether you're using money or not, is critical right now. It's critical. And my little tip to you today is if you're not including seller concessions on the back end of when you fix something up, I think you're making a huge mistake. I think you're making a huge, huge, huge mistake. And if for some reason the buyer buys your flip and they're not asking for any assistance, great, that's more money in your pocket. Next thing, when you're securing the deal, obviously, you know, you're making sure you have the money, but you also, how do you compete to get deals? Whether that's wholesalers, whether it's off market yourself, whether it's MLS properties, is what are your tips and tricks to trying to get a deal? I'm dealing with a house right now in Denver. I'm making an offer. It's a court appointed property, right? And I was going to submit it right before we got on Zoom, and I was like, hold on a second. I want to think a little bit, and I want to think to how do I be even more appealing to that core that really only has one thing in mind, right? And that's price, and probably you're going to close. So I already in my offers am very aggressive with earnest money. We don't do any sort of inspections, not even sewer scopes and things of that nature. Now, when I first started, that was a different story. But when you're competing in a very, very competitive market, the game you play to get the deal, you have to let people know you're serious. So I have tons of tips and tricks on how to get properties. Sometimes it also depends on what your personal resources are within your circle on how aggressive you can be. Next thing is, how are you going to manage this remodel? Everyone says, do you hire a GC? My answer is no. Your answer might be yes, but my answer is no. I project manager everything myself. No, I don't have a construction background. You wouldn't even want me to fix anything. That's not my skill set. But I can manage people. I can manage workflow really, really well. So I manage the deal. My experience is that's how I've been able to get the best prices, because I don't have a GC overhead of, on an average, 20%. So that savings comes back into our pocket per se. And also, if a GC is really busy and they're splitting your project between multiple different projects, sometimes your house will go empty for a while because they're not getting people over there to work. So I don't like that. I like the house being very busy. So I deal with all my subs on my own. Couple of trips and tips on dealing with subs is you kind of pay for what you get. So what I tell people is, when you're talking to contractors, there's the cheap, there's the expensive, and there's going to be a bunch of people that are kind of around the middle. What I've learned is, you don't go with the super cheap, you don't go with the super expensive, you kind of go with somebody around the middle. And you look for honesty, you look for previous work, you look for them to show you current projects, you look for guys who will explain stuff to you, so that you want good work, good quality work from them. But the flip side is, don't mess with their money, right? So when a guy is done, pay him. So one of the reasons I get the pricing I get is because as soon as someone's done, they get paid. There's no questions, there's no bounce checks, there's none of that stuff. It's a relationship. And if you view this as a relationship, that's what will happen. So my guys here in Denver especially, is when I don't even waste their time going to look at a house, right? Obviously, because I can go look, I can estimate a remodel, I can get my offer out there. And again, it's all systematized. But when I call them and I say, hey, I've got 123 Main Street, we're closing, we'll say not this Friday, next Friday. Hey, but I've got access next Wednesday between 10 and 12. Can you all show up? What I want them to do is walk the job and give me their bids. Now, keep in mind, I'm closing on the property 2 days later. I have no way to back out unless title is dirty. But where I'm going with this is, they're not competing against anyone. They're not competing against anyone. And they know that because we have a relationship. And the last one is marketing and reselling. You guys that are agents, you should already know the importance of staging, listing photos. If drone is necessary, that's fine. It's not always necessary. But you guys should already know that you can't take photos with your phone. You already should know that you got to pay for a professional photographer to come in with lights, do the right thing. If you're going to do a video, like everybody wants to do the video from the front door, whatever. If that makes you happy, that's great. And then they're like, come on in, kind of like an MTV Cribs, knock your socks off. Either way, people see the stuff online, whether it's your social media or whether it's like Zillow, Realtor.com, and Redfin. And people need to fall in love with your property from the pictures, from the video, online. And that is crucial. That's step one for reselling. Step two is selling it at the right price. Now, here's another tip and trick. Here's another tip and trick is if you screw up on your rehab and you spend 30 grand more, that does not mean you can sell the house for 30 grand higher. And a lot of rookies make that mistake. Your mistake doesn't carry over to the end buyer or to the market comp of what it's going to appraise to. So those are the 5 steps on a fix and flip. Ray, real quick, if there's one burning question, I'll answer it about fix and flips only.
There's 0 questions right now, man. I think everyone's listening pretty intent. I love it. This is amazing.
Cool. I'm going. All right. Now let's talk about cash flow and properties. So the bulk of my cash flow, obviously, it's Denver, but it's lower income inner city areas. And so you might say, why? Right? Why? Because cash on cash is better. Your cash flow is better. So Ray talked about running numbers, taking emotion out of this. I don't advocate being a slumlord. I do not advocate that. I do not advocate people being slumlords. I think it is your responsibility, if you are a landlord, to provide safe and clean housing to people. Kids are going to be living in these houses, right? Don't be a dodo bird and be a slumlord. That's not okay. That's not the reason you get into real estate investing, or at least it shouldn't be. So how do you know what's the right market? How do you know what's the right market? Well, we could say cash flow is one. Well, it could be the political climate. Maybe you agree or disagree with a certain political climate. But what if I told you there's a strategy behind political climates? So you can get cash flow programs that will subsidize rent beyond Section 8 in certain cities easier than you can get in certain cities. And that's a red versus blue thing. So I mentioned St. Paul, Minnesota. I don't live there. I don't really have a desire to go there. St. Paul's okay, but one of my best friends lives there. We have multifamily assets there, and we are doing a ton of transitional housing out there. Because as those of you know, the Twin Cities is very, 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 very blue. And so there are a lot of programs. Now, are programs being cut? Yes, there are programs being cut, but there are certain programs that are still strong, and there's a need for housing. So when you're looking at markets, you got to look behind your own back door, because if you recall, I want you to buy a turnkey asset, meaning it's ready to go. You're not going to do a remodel in another state. Not yet. Not yet. At some point you might, but not yet. Not if you've never done it. It's ready to go. So more than likely, this may extend beyond your local market, but it's going to create an opportunity for you. Now, running cash flow on a rental. We don't have enough time on a Zoom, but if you think through things, right? You've got rent coming in, you've got expenses from the property, and then you've got a net. If you keep it that simple, you'll be okay. But you got to make sure that the expenses are correct, because there will be vacancy. There will be repairs. There's going to be some things that you need to account for in that formula for expenses. And the only way you'll learn this sometimes is you just learn the hard way. Years ago, I had a lender do a bunch of refis for us, and he didn't put taxes and insurance in there. And he had asked me, and I was kind of young, and I was like, yeah, I guess. Boy, that was stupid. Like, because I should have just had all that escrowed into the payment. But running the numbers is crucial. Now, financing, where's your sweet spot right now? DSCR, which I know you all, if you're agents, you guys are getting millions of emails a day on DSCR, just like I am, right? You're getting millions. DSCR is a legit loan for cash flowing assets. It is a legit loan. Now, there is asset-based private money lenders that will fund rental properties. I promise you there are. So if you don't want to go through the DSCR, you're willing to pay a higher interest rate, but maybe, you know, you have a 480 credit score or something like that. Maybe you want a little bit closer LTV value. There are asset-based private money lenders that will finance your rentals, as long as, again, you can show the cash flow. Property management and selecting tenants. So I've talked about basically government-based subsidized housing, Section 8, transitional housing programs. And when I want to paint a picture for you for transitional housing, not transactional, transitional, homeless, domestic violence, sex trafficking. There's a new one for homeless people that are hospitalized and they need to leave the hospital because they don't need to be in a hospital, but they need wound care for the next 21 days. It's called recuperative transitional housing. Just learned of it last week. So working with a program to see if we can provide that housing in St. Paul because we've got rooms we could fill. So there's tons and tons and tons and tons of programs out there if that's what you want to do. There's student housing if you're closer to a university. If you're closer to a military base, you can do military housing. There's lots of things you can do, or you can do a self-pay tenant. And when I was teaching on the TV shows, it was funny because people were like, what's a self-pay tenant? I'm like, someone who pays the rent themselves. They were like, oh, a normal person, whatever. Someone who pays the rent themselves, and it's not some sort of government subsidized program. So just know, and every market has these programs. It's just whether a certain city has more of these programs or less of these programs and how many people want to play ball. Now, I'll tell you, like, for example, Section 8, just real quick, in Denver, it's a 10-year waiting list. 10-year waiting list for Section 8 housing out here. So do you think there's a need? Is if you have a property and you can get it to cash flow, that if you wanted to, you could probably put somebody in Section 8. I've got a property, $950,000. This is kind of embarrassing, but $950,000. And we've got it rented Section 8 for $4,600 a month. Yeah. Living in $1 million house on Section 8 rent. Not asking for your feedback whether you agree or disagree, but that's just mind-boggling to me. It's mind-boggling. So, if you're an agent, here's a way to get extra commissions. If you can buy something off the MLS, and yes, you can buy something off the MLS. Quit believing people that you can't get stuff off the MLS. You can buy stuff off the MLS. You get a buyer's agent commission. Well, guess what? That just went into your profit pool. When you go to list the property, you're the listing agent, right? So that commission that you would have paid out is now your commission. So that's commission number 2. The third one, if you go buy in another market, so let's just say I'm in Denver, I want to buy in Kansas City. So I reach out to the gentleman that was here in Kansas City and I say, hey, I'm looking to buy an asset, but I'm the buyer, but I also want a referral fee because I'm a licensed agent. Now he's got a choice, right? He can say, okay, or he can say no. Well, if he says no, I'll just call another agent. You think if I call 2, one of them is going to say, okay, right? So you can easily get a referral on your own business. And there's pros and cons of whether you want to do that, whether you don't want to do it. So it's just what kind of business you're going to make. So here's your way to make extra commissions while being an agent and still building your fix and flip business and your cash flowing business. You can earn extra money. Here's one of the properties I flipped. This is my finished remodel look. This is the look I go for when we finish remodeling. Now, today I'm seeing more and more, just to be a little critique, I'm seeing more and more where people are doing black, right? They're doing black on the handles, black on the faucet, black on the sink, black. So you're seeing more and more black come in. You're still seeing kind of this color scheme. This is agreeable gray with Sherwin-Williams. You're still seeing this color scheme come in, but that's the slight change now is fixtures are black. So on a rental, this is rent ready. Does it matter that the fridge is white, the stove is black, the microwave is white, and it's not above the counter? No. Is this clean? Is this slumlord? No, it's not slumlord. Is it clean? Yes. So the thing is you compare the difference. Your rentals, something like this rents all day long. And you don't have to feel guilty that, like, oh, well, like, is it not great standards? No, this is great standards. I could show you houses we buy that people had them as rentals, and then you wonder whether those are great standards. So This is fine for a rental. Big difference though, big difference. Now, my question to you guys is, what if you could implement Flip to Cash Flow, the blueprint, the system, the concept, and escape the transactional treadmill and basically just stop starting from zero every month? So every time you have a closing, right, it's relief, right? You get something under contract, there's relief. You get through the inspections, the appraisals, clear to close, and you're relieved. But now you're starting over again. You're starting over again because you don't have enough in your pipeline. Fix and flip can be big profits. Now, I will say, as an aggregate average, you're probably looking at 25 to 40K realistically. Okay. Now, does that mean like that you can't get one that's at 100,000 or 80,000? Yes, you can, especially if your market is higher priced. But if your market is lower priced, yeah, you might even be squeezing out 15 to 20K to all the way to 40K. So you'll understand risk reward and whether it makes sense. But when you have a system in place, if you can put a client under contract a month, if you can have a flip going once a month, things of that nature, you'll start understanding how it snowballs. And when the snowball effect occurs, you create momentum. Now, creating passive income. This is just guaranteed cash flow if you do it the way I teach, which is to go Section 8 or transitional housing. Not saying you don't run numbers with a self-pay tenant or you never rent to a self-pay tenant, but if you can eliminate not knowing where your money is coming from every month, again, it's peace of mind because it's coming unless programs get cut, which I don't think that's going to happen either. I don't have a crystal ball, but I don't think that's going to happen either. Leveraging your current skills as an agent, right? Like, you have a skill set. You go to so much training as an agent. You represent your clients. Well, number one, what I'll show you in Flip to Cash Flow will also enhance you in your real estate IQ, so you're an even better agent with retail clients. Or if you do represent investors, some of you introduce yourself as you work with investors. So now you'll have more confidence in how you're talking. Because sometimes, again, in the investor realtor relationship, I've seen it being very antagonistic. And a lot of that is, again, just because of how the TV shows coach people. Build a scalable, sustainable real estate business that works. So what I'm offering on Flip to Cash Flow is, it's not just another course. It's a proven system to create lasting financial stuff. All right, I'm going to show you something. So I'm going to exit out of here. And let me pull this up real quick. So these are current students in Flip to Cash Flow. I'm going to play a video for you. You're going to see that they are normal human beings. This is unscripted. This is about as raw as footage as it comes. We just kind of merged some of the stuff together. This was a few of them. We just asked for a round of some videos just so we could put something together for you guys that you could watch. So
Yeah, I'll make sure you share your sound on Zoom too, bud.
do I have to do something funny for that?
Once you actually share your screen for the video, on the bottom right of your Zoom menu, there'll be a link to share sound somewhere.
You need to do it before you actually hit the green share button, though.
Oh, not bad. So do this, do this, do this, and now go where?
It should be under more, next to pause, stop recording. It should say more, and then somewhere in there should say share sound.
Oh, share computer sound stereo.
Yeah. Yep, perfect.
All right, got it. Really? Pre-start your audio. I don't think it's going to work. Do you have that capability off the battery to share it?
I can pull that up. Yeah.
Okay, we'll have you share it. So while Ray's pulling that up, are there any burning questions? And you will have plenty of time to ask questions where I won't have a PowerPoint on and stuff like that. Like, so,
I don't see any, Al.
yeah.
I have a quick question, Al. This is Aki. So I was just wondering, like, in terms of distressed properties, what has been like your go-to stores typically, or that's been working out for you a lot?
As far as finding deals?
Yeah, like distressed properties
Yeah.
in particular. Yeah.
A little bit of everything. So, do I still look at stuff by wholesalers? Yeah, I still look at stuff by wholesalers, right? I still will look at stuff by wholesalers. But and I'll offer, right? It's usually never what they're asking. It's nowhere close to what they're asking, but I'll still offer. And then MLS is a great source to getting deals. And there's some tricks and tips for how to get deals off MLS. Off market. So I've done everything under the sun. What I won't do is spend 30, 40, 50 grand like some of these top wholesalers are for marketing and door knocking and all that nonsense like that. So I'll do some very, what's the right word? Very intensive marketing, right? Very, very intensive. So right now I'm experimenting with people who are delinquent on their property taxes, and going after them with a very, very strategic way of not being an investor, not being a realtor, but just trying to say, hey, kind of like, what's going on? How can I help you? And just trying to get the phone to ring. So I sent out, for example, 250 mailers went out and landed, because I haven't got anything back. And 3 people called. So now what I'm like on the next phase of that is I'm like, okay, maybe I need to hire a caller to call the 247 that didn't respond before I send something else out. So that's what I'm kind of working with. So it's always a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's getting the word out, knowing that you're actively buying. So like a lot of people know that I'm actively buying, like I'm looking for deals, right? We've got, I hate to say like money to burn, but we got money sitting in a checking account that we need to burn, right? We need deals. But just because I'm looking for deals does not mean I sacrifice my formula, nor do I do anything stupid to where I put myself and my partners in a bad situation. So where I'm going with that is just because I want deals and I want deals today, like we'll close tomorrow, I'm not going to sacrifice my formula. I'm not out of desperation. And I think a lot of guys are doing that now. And I hope, I don't ever wish anybody lose money. I mean, I've lost money on deals. I mean, it sucks. It absolutely sucks having to take it in the shorts on a deal that you were supposed to make 20 grand, 40 grand, whatever the case may be, right? Sometimes things just go wrong, but it's just one of those things where I feel like a lot of people aren't running their numbers correctly. They all think that the market is going to skyrocket, and you don't know that. You have no idea if the market's going to skyrocket. So,
all right, Al, let's hit the gas on the video and then we'll get into Q&A.
Okay, so do you hit it? Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
This class is giving me the tools and the confidence that I need to make that vision a reality. And I'm so excited for what's to come. So if you're serious about adding flipping to your wealth strategy, Flip2CashFlow is definitely worth checking out.
And it's such a game changer. So with all those nuggets and all that, those resources, I honestly see myself confidently stepping into the world of investing as a first-time investor myself. It's also helping me become a better real estate agent for my clients. I mean, it's equipping me with all the tools to guide them to be more effective as we go into the transition of buying or purchasing a home. So I want to give a huge thank you to Flip2CashFlow for empowering me on this amazing journey.
Hi, my name is Rodrigo Ortiz and I'm a real estate agent with Epic Brokerage here in Denver, Colorado. Before I started this flipping training with Coach Al, I done a few flips, and as you guys know, things change over time. And I kind of lost the love for flipping, but now with Al, Al is a super nice guy, cool guy, and he teaches you like, I don't know, like he's your dad. What I've been learning so far, it's the new updates on the real estate market when it comes to flipping. As you guys know, everything changes over time.
Hello, this is Brent Vasquez. I am a student of Flip2CashFlow, hosted by Al Filgneri. This is one of the best classes that I've ever had in fixing and flipping and in real estate. Before this class, I am an experienced flipper. I flipped about a handful of houses. I've rented out a couple of houses I've had and house hacked one of my own houses. So during this class, I've learned quite a bit of things. I've learned how to analyze properties, look at the activities in the area. It got me out of my mindset of just looking at certain numbers, but also looking at the area within itself. Not only here in Colorado, where I am where I live, even outside.
All right, Al, back to you, bud.
All right. So you could tell raw testimonials, but let me jump up. So the program they're referring to on the Flip2CashFlow is basically my own program. It's done by me. There is no fluff. What you see is what you get. I'm not trying to build a Grant Cardone 10x big corporate thing, blah, 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 blah. That's not where I'm going with this thing at all. And I will tell you from speaking with the TV shows, when I traveled, they would send guys in the back of the room with me that never had done a real estate deal, but they were supposed to support me and answer questions. They've never done anything. Their phone coaches never did anything. So I want to rule that out. My program, it's taught by me. I'm the guy on the Zooms. We're live. We're real. I'm answering the emails. I'm answering the text messages. So what am I going to show you? Step by step, how to fix and flip, all my tricks, how to fund, how to find, and how to work the rehab so you have successful fix and flipping journey. Next one is we're going to talk a lot more about Section 8 and transitional housing. There's a way to find them. There's a way to communicate. There's a way to get to the top of the list. If you have a property, it's all in knowing the tricks. Funding. Like I said, I just had an asset-based private money lender come to the mentorship group and spend 90 minutes with my students. He lends money. He lends money. Right? So I'm bringing people that lend the money. And then I'll also teach you how to find money in your local market. Market selection, deal finding. Obviously, how do you select the right market? What's right for you? What's right for me might not be right for you. So it's very important that when we talk about market selection, that you're honest with yourself and you're going to a market that makes sense for you to go to. Proven tools and systems. I've got calculators, checklists, scripts, all kinds of stuff in there. So that's the program. What's his worth? I'll spare you all this is worth 25,000, 2,000, 1,500. At the end of the day, I could sell this. I have sold this for well over 10 grand. The TV shows, when I used to speak for the TV shows, the entry level price point was 25,000, then 40,000, then 60,000. The average student paid $40,000 to come to the workshops that I did. Let's get this straight. I didn't get $40,000. The gurus got that. I just got a speaking fee to teach. But at the end of the day, after 3 days, I was their refund policy if somebody wasn't happy with what I taught them for 3 days. So what am I doing it for? One time, $997. What do you get? You get my system, the modules, the worksheets. I have everything in a Google Drive folder you'll have full access to. I create stuff all the time, so it's current, and that's what we do on Zooms. It's going to be twice a week, starting March 25th, Tuesdays and Fridays, 11 a.m. Eastern. I run it for 90 minutes. If you can't make it, no big deal. I have everything recorded. And then I'm going to do one-on-one session. So basically you're getting 13 sessions, 12 group, 1 private for $997. Starts March 25th. Starts March 25th. So it's actually going to be 7 weeks with the one-on-one and things of that nature. So you have a choice today. Do you keep doing what you're doing? Do you keep working harder instead of smarter? Do you keep watching investors or representing investors build their wealth while you just go for a commission check and then you're constantly on that transactional treadmill? Or do you learn how to do flip to cash flow for yourself, which will also make you a better agent? And I don't, if you're an investor and you're like, well, it seems like this is for agents. No, you can be an investor in here. Trust me. You're just going to miss some of the parts of the extra commissions and things of that nature. But it's okay because and maybe you want to get a real estate license. I don't know. We'll have an intelligent conversation about whether that makes sense. But at the end of the day, do you want to do flips while adding to your protection, to your commissions? Do you want rental income so you can have passive cash flow? And if you're not going to do my program, then what are you going to do? And if you're not going to pull the trigger today, then when, right? So I'm sure you've heard this. If not now, when? If not this, then what? I would ask yourself that question. So I actually have this trademark that you're one decision away. Because what a lot of times happens is people want to make 63,000 decisions. No, you just need to make one decision, right? That's it. Just one decision. Is I've done this at what I feel is very affordable for what I give you. Very, very affordable for what I give you. I hope from the testimonials you saw, they were real people. They weren't actors. They're not AI generated. They're real human beings. So we have many ways. We have Stripe, Venmo, PayPal, which will give you a payment plan within PayPal. If you click the button, I don't know what it is. I think PayPal determines it. And then we've got Zelle, and I have QR codes for everything. We can come back to this, but what's important to me now is making sure we get questions answered.
Awesome. Thanks, Al. I guess my first loaded question for everybody here is, what is the expectation with the program? Like, what can I expect if I'm coming into the program? I know what I get, but what can I expect?
What can you expect? So if you take that top presenter mentality, top producer, sorry, right? That hustler grinder mentality, my goal would be that you have a fix and flip under contract in the 6-week time frame. Now, my caveat to that is some of that is market dependent and whether you're willing to put in the work. Because like right now, I am hustling to continue to find deals in Denver, like hustling. Like something came to my attention this morning. I ran out already right before the Zoom, and that's the one I'm offering on. So if you're willing to put in the work and get your name out there that you're looking for deals and things of that nature, my goal would be in that 6-week time frame, you at least have something under contract, maybe even closed, but you've got everything lined up so that it can be a successful fix and flip.
I love it. Al, how much one-on-one time are we getting with you?
Like hours? It's like 20 or so. I don't know. It's yeah.
Okay,
It's
awesome.
If
No,
it's
I love it.
90 minutes twice a week. And people will tell you that I don't rush, right? Like I want to teach. So, you know, sometimes people still have questions. I stay on, I'll get your questions answered. And then obviously you get the one-on-one, because the one-on-one, you know, won't be in the first couple of weeks, because I need to get a feel for your personality, your drive. Are you showing up? Is your camera on? Certain things, because then I can direct the one-on-one, right? So to better suit you.
I love it. And if I want to invest in another state, like if I'm in Chicago, but I want to invest in Tennessee, is that something that we can work on together?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I talk a lot about market selection. I just, you know, my thing is I would caution you to do a fix and flip unless you had A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, right? And that you're willing to get out there, or you've got somebody out there, right? It's a lot can go wrong on a fix and flip. A lot can really go wrong. And when you're not physically there, it can be challenging. So impossible? No, but you've got to have some extra steps. You got to buy some plane tickets. I would tell you, go spend some time there, not on vacation, but like really looking at real estate, meeting people, things of that nature. And then you need to budget for going down there fairly frequently. Like when I was heavy in Detroit and St. Louis, Kansas City, Birmingham, and those markets, sometimes I was out there weekly because we had so many projects going on.
I love it. Guys, I've been in and out of about 2,200 transactions across 14 states as an investor over the last 33 years. And I've paid $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 for masterminds, and I haven't seen a program as clean as this. Like Debbie and I wouldn't be here supporting this if this didn't work and you didn't get results. Let's see, DJ, how challenging is it to turn a property into transitional housing? Approximately how long does it take to get the government to approve it? Al?
So a couple tips and tricks, right? So if we're just going Section 8, there's certain guidelines that Section 8 wants for the property. In my opinion, you should meet those guidelines without Section 8 telling you should meet those guidelines. That's just my own personal opinion, right? A kid should be able to open a window and the window shouldn't come smashing down on their fingers. Let's just start right there, okay? So if you got any sort of human decency, you don't struggle to meet those guidelines. My trick, and I'll share it with you, DJ, because you asked, is you got to get the person who's going to be your tenant to do all the work. So what most people do is they get a house, they go list it with Section 8, they go through the Section 8 inspection, they get put on this stupid Rolodex. I don't even know what they do, right? Because I don't do it that way. When the house is ready, I market it, Section 8 voucher is okay. Now I have people coming to me that have an approved Section 8 voucher. I show it, we talk, they say, yes, we want it. Every person in Section 8 or transitional housing has a caseworker. Now, you get them to expedite the process of your house getting approved and the paperwork getting done so that they can move in on XYZ date. So that's Section 8. On the other transitional housing, when I was talking about those other transitional housing, there's a way to search for them, DJ, in every city, every county. And when you reach out to them, I have a script, okay? And all I will say, DJ, is I never start with the money. What is the prime focus? And you can answer in the chat. What is the prime focus that these transitional housing programs, like what's their mission? What's their focus? It's to what? What is it? It's one word. Rehabilitation, yep. Okay, so I'm going to translate it into a more generic term, serve, right? Serve an underrepresented population. So when you reach out with that mantra that you want to serve an underrepresented population, and you will be amazed at how differently they talk to you. Because every other investor wants to know how much per bed, how do they pay, blah, 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 blah. Those are logistical things, right? But when you convey that you actually have a passion to serve, and what I would hope is that you do, right? Because it's a lot of these demographics, they're very different. So you have to have a passion to want to help. And if you have that passion and it comes across to these caseworkers, it will set you apart, and all of a sudden they'll start referring you. And they start knowing of new programs. They start knowing of who's paying. So for example, homeless recuperative that was introduced to me last week came from a group. They called me. $300 a day is what they pay. A day. I have to provide 3 meals and wound care. We never talked about the money. They told me what they're willing to pay if I would entertain their clients. See the difference? The money's always there. The money's always there. But what most investors do is always lead with the money. And that turns people off. Just turns people off, especially in those programs. So I will show you how I articulate, our company vision for that stuff. I mean, I'll show you how I send emails when I call, things of that nature within the program, because it'll set you light years apart. You're welcome.
I love it. Guys, who else has questions? Like, you're here with us. We got Al's time. Let's use it. You can unmute and ask questions.
Somebody just asked a question.
Yeah. Any connections or strategies to trust estates before they hit the MLS?
Outside of attorneys, that's one angle, right? I mean, is going to network with estate planning attorneys, trust attorneys. There are institutions that specialize in that, like AKA their banks. I actually did remodels for one of them last year out here in Denver. They had some issues and I got involved and I remodeled for them for a deceased person so that the trust could make more money is basically what happened. So just, it's networking in those circles. Yes, are there lists you can buy of inherited properties and probate properties and things of that nature? Absolutely, absolutely. But it's like anything else on a marketing funnel. You gotta hit things pretty rapidly, and also change your pitch, because everybody comes with the same pitch of wanting to buy the house or be the agent, right? You got to spin it a little bit. You got to spin it, right? And I will say one thing is that the one thing that Ray and Debbie do really, really well in Agent Impact Group, if you've never been here, is they vet out a lot of people. Like, and I mean a lot of people, because they get blown up daily on people that want to provide a service or sell a service or things of that nature. So because I'm so well connected with them, if that was an angle you wanted to attack, then my commitment to you would be that I would, we'll work through that. We will work through that with some of the connections that I think Agent Impact Group has for providing lists and things of that nature, because they're not all the same. They're not all the same.
Hi, all. So I have a question. The approach that you want to teach, is it to try to acquire the property? For example, some properties, for you to have enough room, they need to be properties that come from distressed situations, financials, divorces, etc. In terms of the ones that go through the process of foreclosure, do you like to teach for us to go get the ones that get after that process is done, or do you try to grab it like right before it hits short sales? Because then we have competition, and when competition comes, the price keeps going up, keeps going up, keeps going up. And there's some people that they're okay grabbing 10 deals and making 10,000 out of each one because it's their own money, and because their dad is their contractor and everything else. But when we're including real estate agents in this deal, $10,000 don't go anywhere. You need to have, and the average property, you need to have at least $80,000. And then to be able to cover, price reductions or anything else that happens after you deduct all the fees. So you really need to be low on acquiring the property.
Yep. So the answer to your question is yes, and yes, and yes, and yes, and yes, right? Is if you have a vertical where you can get deals, I think you said you were out of Houston, right? So if in Houston, you guys are seeing an increase in foreclosures, and that is now yielding opportunity, then that would be a funnel that you would use to get deals. Okay. In Denver, yeah, I mean, sure, the NOD list, does everybody know what I mean? The NOD list, yeah, it's getting more and more names, but the houses haven't been taken back by the banks yet, right? So the question is the bank going to work with them? Is it time for a short sale? Is it going to go to foreclosure? Things of that nature. I think for my market specifically, I think we're still a little short. It's still a little short-sighted to have a strong opinion. So in your market, you're going to go with what yields. Now, there's tricks on offering on short sales, right? And I would tell you, if that's your window that you want to have is an 80K spread at the end, I would tell you, I think we need to tighten that number up, because if you comp it right and have seller concessions correct, you're not really doing price reductions. You're not really doing price reductions. So a lot of what's happened though in the last 6 months is that properties are sitting, right? They've been more stale. Well, the country's got a lot of uncertainty, correct? So properties are just sitting a little bit. So when I do comps, I still only go 90 days back. Sometimes over wintertime, I'll go 120 days back. But like there's wholesalers telling me, oh, I'm going back to last year, like a year ago. And I'm like, well, that's crazy. So somehow on your formula, it's, if you're looking for an 80K net spread at the end, that's why you're not getting deals. Okay. Because that's a challenging number to hit. That's a really, really hard number to hit unless you're in a higher price point. And I don't know what Houston has, all, a variety of price points, obviously, right?
Yeah, we have everything in there.
You have everything. Yeah. Yeah. You guys.
Well, you can be there. You can be there if you grab the property right when it's a schedule for auction and right before it hits auction.
Yep.
Because then the person is packing up and they're leaving. And you can either save them from foreclosure, which it is cheaper for you. It's cheaper for you to save them from foreclosure and give them some money to go elsewhere than you waiting for the actual bidding war where you're going to have to compete with 20 sharks like you.
Right. So, yeah, you can, right? You can. I mean, there are guys I know in Denver that I network with, and they want the property at the cheapest price known to mankind, right? The lowest dollar that a human could possibly get it, right? And if it's been bumped up like 10K, 5K, 10K, they're mad. They're like, oh, man, if I would have just redid this and done this, I could have got this. And I'm like, dude, it's still within your formula. What are you all mad about? Right? Like, it's never been my goal, Ari. This is just me personally. It's never been my goal to be the guy that gets the property for the absolute cheapest price. I just want properties brought to me with the right spread that I want, right? You're going to find in this business what's your skill set. It's just like in real estate, right? We got to be marketers. We got to be converters. We got to be negotiators. We got to be contract specialists. We got to be psychologists. We got to be babysitters. We got to be all these different things, right?
Credit repair.
Yep, credit repair, right? For divorce counseling.
Marriage counseling.
Yeah,
because
marriage counseling.
if that husband doesn't go to closing.
Yep, we gotta have all those hats. And the reason that real estate is so hard that people don't give us enough credit for is because we have to wear those different hats. Because every hat has a different personality. But you have a genuine personality, right? I have a genuine personality, as in these are my strengths. So the thing is, in investing, you got to figure out where your strengths, and again, let other people fill your holes. So for me, marketing, I'm not this great marketer. Never have been, never will be. Doesn't mean I haven't wasted thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands and thousands of dollars attempting to be this great marketer, because I sure have. But what I'm better off is I'm the guy that's good on the phone, that can connect and inspire. And then I'm good at the remodel, even though I'm not a contractor. So those are my skill sets. So if I go and develop relationships with people that are marketing, door knocking, doing whatever it is that they're doing, going to 96,000 meetup groups and things of that nature, you know what? Perfect, because I don't want to do any of that. I would just rather you think of me when somebody's like, hey, I got a bucket of crap, man. I don't know what I should do with it. Oh, you should talk to my boy Al. Perfect. Right? So you got to find your lane, Ari. You find your lane. So, but like these big wholesalers, what they don't tell you is they're spending, I swear to God, they're spending closer to 50 grand a month right now. And they have teams, right? They got marketers, they got door knockers, they got deal acquisition people, they've got people looking for the cash buyers, they got people looking for off-market sellers. Like they leave all that out. That they have huge outlay too on making that model successful. They never peel back the curtains and really let you know. So that's why I say yes, and yes. It just depends on your market. So hopefully that answered your question.
Thank you. It did.
I love it. Guys, what other questions do we have for Al? Thank you all for joining us today. We hope you learned something, at least a formula, framework, something new. We want to add value with everything that we do. We'd love to have you inside Al's program. It's fantastic.
Does anybody else have any questions for Al? I see there's a few people that have had to leave for other appointments. There's still 20 of us on here. Anybody else have any questions that we can answer before we wrap this up? All righty.
Okay.
Al, Ray.
Yeah, we can give you guys your day back. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't be shy. Al, do you want to drop your contact info in the chat in case somebody wants to text you or send you an email?
Sure. So.
Oh, and before I forget, I just dropped the YouTube channel in the chat. where you will be able to find the recordings of this call and any of the other calls, webinars that we do.
Also, if you're not part of our private community, guys, join here. There are 9 courses that are free with all sorts of good stuff in there. You'll also find this recording there as well, probably about tomorrow. And I'll make sure everybody gets this. All right, cool. Awesome, you guys. Well, again, thank you, everybody. Al, thank you for showing up for us, and thank you for sharing this program with all of us.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Reach out
All
again.
guys.
right, thanks, guys.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.